And so now since we have our shape and our height matches pretty well, we can go ahead and select this block out, and we can just hide it there, or we can hide it by pressing V here. And really I should have renamed this block out so we knew what that layer was in case we were going to use multiple layers. Oh, same name. So we just come in and put layer and save that and just turn that off. So now we have that basic shape, but we want to make sure that that is a little bit smoother so that it looks better. And we also have this issue of the inside being affected as well. So let's solve that in the best order. So I don't want to bevel these first before I go ahead and make the inside better. I'm just going to go ahead and select all these, click here, hold shift, double click there, and we get that whole row. Do this again on this side, and then we can go back into soft select and lower our influence a bit. That's too low. I want to get that line a little bit and then bring that in. Now we have that as an inside edge. We're gonna have a little gap here, but when we bake the normal maps, that's gonna come out basically dark. So that's not too big of a deal, but if you're like me and you try and make things look really nice and fancy all the time, even though you don't really need to, you could go in and rescale this back out so that we get a little bit more matching of an edge. And if you go back and look at my original one, we definitely have a gap. This barrel would have gigantic leaks. You don't see it in the final one, right? Like, it basically just looks like there's a buildup of dirt. So now the final thing that we need to do on this guy is go ahead and bevel its edges, add some edge loops, and get a better shape. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this guy, double click, or shift double click to add everything. I'm going to press B so we get out of soft select, shift double click everything. Now I forgot to mention that my colors in my editor probably are off. I've edited a lot of things in Maya. Like I said before, I reset the workspace and everything, but I think my selection of black is going to be different than yours. I just like working with it in black. I don't know, it's less in your face. So I have all these edges selected, and I'm just going to bevel them. And for the standard bevel, I go in, do 2 segments, and I change my fraction to be lower, so that we just have a nice bevel on the edges, maybe 0.3. And there we go. So now that's all done. Next thing we want to add is basically some planks on the top and some planks on the bottom to cover that up. And the way that I did that last time is I basically just grabbed in, as you can see, I just grabbed a cube, shaped it up, and booleaned it out of the shape. So if we come in, we can create some cubes. So I'll create a cube. And go ahead and resize this down. I'm going to size it about the thickness of before. The height really doesn't matter too much. And go ahead and place this here. And then resize that so we have a better thickness. Duplicate, move over, duplicate, move over, duplicate, move over, duplicate, and move over. Now, I can easily just take these, shift right click, and combine. That should also be under mesh combine, as long as you have the selection. And now we have one mesh. To make sure that we don't have any issues here, I'm going to go to edit, delete all by type history. That'll just get rid of that garbage data there. What I want to do is basically pre-bevel all of this so that we don't have any issues when I do a Boolean operation. It's going to be a lot harder to bevel. So the easiest way is just to select all these edges. We technically don't need these, so we can just grab these edges and go ahead and bevel them. basically do the same thing as before. 2 segments, about 0.3 was good. That looks right. And then we can go ahead, grab a cylinder, a brand new cylinder, change this. So we'll go to input cylinder, change our divisions to 12, and just resize this down so that we capture that size of that barrel. We're gonna have to rotate this, and since we know that our planks are placed 30 degrees apart and we're 12 sides, then it should be safe to assume that we can rotate this by 15 degrees and that'll line us up. So we'll take this, and this is basically just going to cut a hole out of here. So to make this work with booleans, we're going to grab the center cylinder, then grab the planks, then go to mesh, booleans, intersection. And that's basically just going to cut out what we had. We can bring this up and see we get some annoying little edges, but yeah. So a good way to work on this, since it's actually placed inside of this mesh, is to go ahead and use this tool here, which is isolate select, and now we can just view this model and go ahead and, like I did before, clean up a lot of the unwanted geometry. And this right away is going to prevent, that's giving me some weird selections, this right away is going to prevent any ingons. So I'm just going to go through, shift select all of these that I don't want, delete them. And then I also don't really want this bottom edge, so I'm just going to go here, line my camera up, grab the bottom parts, and then deselect those middles and delete that as well. And then just to sort of give us some more information with our baking, I'm going to go ahead, grab these vertices, shrink them in so that we're not going completely to a black hole. So if I just grab these and scale them inside, they're basically going to go to as close as they can get together. Then I'll just take these, I only want the bottom, and move that up. So now when we bake our normals, it's going to get a little bit more information to see. And then we can come out of isolate select by either clicking this button or hitting Control 1. And we have this. Now we want one on the bottom as well, so the easiest way to do that is hold D, move our pivot down with X snapping, so hold D, hold X, move our pivot, and then I'm just going to duplicate it, and I'm going to grab the rotation here, hold X, rotate it over. I don't want to inverse my scale because that could mess up normal maps, so I'm just going to reverse it. If you did inverse the scale, so if we just did -1, we'd end up down here, but you would have to go ahead and freeze transformations so that our scale is no longer -1. The reason for that is because faces only have one side, so if our mesh is -1, it could look correct in Maya, but then when we take it into something like Substance Painter or Unity, it will mess up. So anyways, we have that on this side, and then for the sake of having some different stuff here, I'm just going to hold J and rotate a little bit so that we're not lined up perfectly with that side. And there is most of the barrel. The last thing we need to do, which is pretty easy, is to go ahead and create some rings. Now the easiest way that I found to do this is to create another cylinder. First off, let me get some organization here. I'm going to grab all of these, and I'm going to do mesh combine, and then I'm going to grab these two, press G to duplicate that again, or you can just go here and combine, or you can go mesh combine. Then I'm going to edit, delete all by type history, and just do this for sides, and this will be caps. And then we deleted history, but not everything from here deleted. So I'm going to delete all these empty groups so we have a better outliner.